62-year-old millionaire businesswoman undergoing cancer treatment falls in love with her 34-year-old doctor. An incredible love story. Margaret Thompson's 62-year-old face had no wrinkles, thanks to Botox and cosmetic surgeries, but the exhaustion in her eyes couldn't be hidden by any cosmetic intervention. In her 40-year business career, she had earned millions, taken Thompson Holdings to Fortune 500, but had never married. "I sacrificed for my career," she would tell herself. The truth was, no one had ever succeeded in melting her heart of ice. The day she went to Mayo Clinic, she thought she was just coming for a routine checkup. The pancreatic cancer diagnosis turned her 40-year controlled life upside down in an instant. "How much time do I have?" she asked Dr. Patricia Wells. "With treatment, 12 to 18 months, maybe less." That night, Margaret sat in her penthouse, watching the lights of Manhattan. She had lived 62 years, earned millions, but had never been in love. Dr. Daniel Rivera, 34, became the oncologist responsible for Margaret's chemotherapy. A Puerto Rican, divorced father of 2 children. He had worked as a waiter nights while studying medicine. Nothing had come easy to him. When Margaret first saw Daniel, she was surprised. In this man's eyes, 28 years younger than herself, there was deep maturity, despite his age. His approach to patients was completely different from other doctors. "Miss Thompson," Daniel said in their first meeting, "I will care for you not only medically, but also humanely. Cancer affects not just the body, but the soul." Margaret had never seen anyone approach her this way in her life. During her first chemotherapy session, Margaret had brought her assistant Jennifer, and was trying to continue her meetings with her laptop. "Miss Thompson," Daniel said gently, "I recommend you set aside company business for now. Your body needs rest." "Rivera, you take care of your medical business, I'll take care of my own," Margaret replied in a harsh tone. Daniel smiled. "Okay, but when you got sick, your company continued to work, didn't it? Maybe they can stay on their feet without you too." These words made Margaret think. Could her company really function without her? During her third chemotherapy session, Margaret began watching how Daniel cared for his patients instead of dealing with work. He was holding an elderly woman's hand, joking with a child patient, comforting families. "I've been watching you," Margaret said to him. "Why do you care so much about everyone?" Daniel was silent for a while. "My mother also died of cancer. I was 8 years old. The doctors back then were very cold. No one explained to me what was happening. No one held my hand." This sincere sharing created the first crack in Margaret's defense walls. Margaret saw Daniel's 2 children, 8-year-old Sophia and 6-year-old Miguel. His ex-wife Carmen was dropping them off at the hospital. "Papi," they shouted when they saw Daniel. Margaret was enchanted watching Daniel's relationship with his children. What a patient, loving father he was. How much he valued them. "Beautiful children," Margaret said later. "Thank you. They're the meaning of my life." "Do you get along well with your ex-wife?" Daniel smiled. "Carmen is a wonderful mother. We just weren't compatible spouses, but we do our best for the children." Margaret had never seen such a mature approach. After the 5th session, Daniel invited Margaret for tea at the hospital cafeteria. "Why?" Margaret asked. "Because you're not just a patient, you're also a strong woman, and strong people also need someone to talk to." Sitting in the cafeteria, Margaret found herself telling Daniel about her life, her loneliness, the reasons for focusing on career, never having been in love. "You've never been in love?" Daniel asked. "And maybe I never found the depth I was looking for in anyone." "What were you looking for?" Margaret thought. "Real connection. Someone who sees me, not just my money or status." Daniel was trying to deny the attraction he was beginning to feel toward Margaret. There was a 28-year age difference between them. Margaret was a sick patient, and their social statuses were completely different. But Margaret's intelligence, strong personality, and the rare vulnerable moments she showed affected him deeply. "This is wrong," he told himself. "She's my patient, and in the final stages of her life." However, his heart was saying other things. In the 6th month, Margaret began to change under the effects of chemotherapy. Her hair had fallen out, but for the first time her natural beauty had emerged. Without makeup, without a wig, she looked more real. "I look terrible," she said to Daniel. "No," Daniel said sincerely. "Maybe for the first time in your life you look truly beautiful." These words deeply shook Margaret. No one had ever looked at her this way. One rainy evening, Daniel stayed with Margaret, even though his shift was over. Margaret had had a particularly difficult day. "Why are you here?" Margaret asked. "Because no one should be alone on nights like this." They sat together in silence. At that moment, both felt it. A romantic tension was beginning to form between them. "Daniel," Margaret said quietly, "this isn't right." "What's not right?" "This thing between us. I'm an old, sick woman. You're young, in the spring of your life." "Margaret," Daniel said, using her name for the first time, "age is just a number, and I see in you a depth I've never found in anyone." In the 8th month, Margaret's test results showed improvement. The tumor had shrunk. "This is wonderful news," Daniel said excitedly. Margaret's eyes showed more fear than joy. "What if I survive but you leave?" Daniel approached her. "Margaret, I'm not going anywhere." At that moment, in the hospital room, they shared their first kiss. Margaret, at 62, was experiencing the deepest kiss of her life. When their relationship began to be noticed in the hospital, reactions were mixed. "Daniel, this isn't ethical," said Chief of Medicine Dr. Anderson. "Both the patient-doctor relationship and the age difference." "Margaret is getting better," Daniel said, "and what's between us is real." The reactions from Margaret's business circle were harsher. "She's fallen in love with a young doctor at 62, they whispered. When Margaret met Daniel's children, Sophia and Miguel, she was nervous. She had never been close with children. "Are you Poppy's friend?" Sophia asked. "Something like that," Margaret said. "Poppy is very happy because of you," Miguel said innocently. "We haven't seen him smile like this in a long time." That she was having a positive impact on these children's lives surprised her. Daniel wanted to learn why Margaret had never married. "I was engaged when I was 25, Margaret said. "Robert Harris, but he loved me for my money. I realized this on our wedding day and ran away." "You haven't trusted anyone since then." "Yes, until I met you." Daniel became more attached to Margaret when he saw her fragility. After being with Daniel, Margaret began making changes in company management too. She started getting closer to her employees, focusing on social responsibility projects. "You've changed, Miss Thompson," said her assistant Jennifer. "For the better?" "Absolutely. Now you're more human." Margaret smiled. Love had made her not just a better woman, but a better person. In the 10th month, Margaret had completely recovered. Daniel decided to propose to her, but didn't know how to do it. In Margaret's hospital room, he prepared an environment decorated with flowers. "Margaret," he said, getting on one knee, "we have an age difference. Society might judge us, but I love you. Will you marry me?" Margaret said yes, through tears. "But I have one condition," Daniel said with a smile. "What is it?" she asked. "No business talk during the honeymoon." The wedding preparations caused a big stir in society. Headlines read, "62-year-old millionaire marrying 34-year-old doctor." Margaret's former business associates were shocked, and Daniel's family was worried. "Are you sure, son?" asked Daniel's mother, Maria. "Mom, Margaret loves me as I am, and I love her more than life." Sophia and Miguel were very excited. "Now we'll have two mothers," they said. The wedding took place with a small but meaningful ceremony. Margaret wore an elegant dress instead of a wedding gown, choosing her short natural hair over a wig. "Today I'm completely real for the first time in my life," she said to Daniel. During the ceremony, the happiness in Margaret's eyes silenced all age difference criticism. "I, Margaret, take you, Daniel, not only as my husband, but also as my teacher who taught me what real love is." They spent their honeymoon in Tuscany. Margaret completely forgot about work for the first time in her life. She was touring small villages with Daniel, eating at local restaurants, talking for hours. "You know," Margaret said one day walking among the vineyards, I've been living for 62 years, but I'm just now starting to really live. I'm also rediscovering everything with you, Daniel said. After returning home, Margaret began building close relationships with Daniel's children. She was telling Sophia stories from business life, helping Miguel with his math homework. I love Margaret, Sophia told Daniel one day. She really listens to us. Carmen, his ex-wife, had noticed this change. Daniel looks very happy, she said to Margaret. Thank you, Margaret said. These children taught me what it's like to be a family. Margaret converted part of Thompson Holdings into a health foundation. She established the Rivera Thompson Cancer Research Foundation. This isn't just for you, she told Daniel. It's for doctors like you, patients like me. Thanks to the foundation, Daniel could reach more patients, and Margaret was investing her money in meaningful work. 2 years later, Margaret and Daniel's marriage began to be accepted in society, because their real happiness was visible to everyone. I was worried about the age difference at first, said Margaret's old friend Helen, but after seeing you together, I understood that real love has nothing to do with age. In the 3rd year, Daniel showed signs of fatigue. Tests revealed he had heart problems, the result of years of overwork. Now I'll take care of you, Margaret said. The roles had changed. Margaret was taking care of Daniel, trying to teach him to rest. Isn't it ironic? Daniel said. You sacrificed your life for work. I did for medicine. We both had to get sick to learn to love. In the 5th year, Sophia started university, medical school. Margaret covered her education expenses. I understand why I was inspired when I saw my father and Margaret together, Sophia said. They showed me what real love is like. When Miguel finished high school, he said he wanted to study business. I learned a lot from Margaret, he said. Margaret and Daniel began counseling couples with age differences. Our story shows that love is measured not by age, but by the depth of the heart, Margaret would say in her speeches. Their foundation had grown, helping hundreds of cancer patients. On their 6th wedding anniversary, Margaret was 68 and Daniel was 42. The children had grown up. Their foundation had become international. Do you regret it? Margaret asked Daniel. Regret what? Choosing an old woman instead of marrying a young woman. Daniel smiled and kissed Margaret. You fell in love with me at 62. I fell in love with you at 34. Now you're 68, I'm 42. Every year we love each other a little more. 10 years later, Margaret was 72, and Daniel was 44. Sophia had become a doctor. Miguel had gotten his MBA. Both saw Margaret as their grandmother. Margaret's cancer had never returned. Daniel's heart problem was under control. You know, Margaret said one evening while watching TV together, if I hadn't gotten cancer, we never would have met. Then I thank cancer, Daniel said jokingly. I thank it too, for teaching me what real life is. Margaret had fallen in love at 62 and was living the happiest period of her life at 72. Age was just a number, love was eternal. And Daniel? He had also learned through Margaret that love is measured not by age, but by the depth of the heart. Their story was proof that the most beautiful loves come late.